Probably because it's late. Oh, there we go.
All right, folks, here we are. Yes, bonus, a gift for you 2 days early. How about that?
You're welcome.
You can blame me if this messes up your viewing schedule. But again, if they all get recorded. So here we are for Hurricanes Live, a 418th edition. Cam Underwood right next to me, of course, from State of the U. And we're talking Miami football with the Canes kind of in that middle part of spring practice with some time off now. Cam, how you doing?
I'm good. Sorry, I was just checking a random text message that flew in because, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and these things happen. But yeah, no, good. Glad to be here. Gonna just chop it up. So same as always, man.
We'll take the grassroots support here, folks, because Twitter's even down. So we couldn't even get out and promote the show here with the typical posting. So just let people know that we are here. And of course, again, this is always available on the record and also on the audio, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, etc. However, we love for you to join us live. So be thinking of others. We know that about 10 of you have jumped in here real quick. So you can always let some others know. You used the phrase early returns, Cam, as we were setting up for the show. So what would the early returns from spring practice be?
The freshman class is looking, the way that it needs to look. I wish there were a couple more players among that group. But, early on, Hayden Lowe looking like, physically, so not necessarily performance-wise, but, walking into practice, 18-year-old kid looks like an NFL player. Like he showed or he posted pictures of his physical development since he's been on campus in only like 6-8 weeks. And he's like, that's what you want a 5-star to come in looking like 6'5", 245 pounds now. And you can tell just chiseled, lean, muscle, you see the pipes, shoulders, arms, everything. This kid is looking the way that he needs to look. So that's impressive. We've talked many a time about the wide receiver group in this class, Dalen Upshaw, Joshua Moore, and Malachi Toney standing out from, before day one of practice, day one since they've been on campus, to the point where Malachi Toney for the last 2 days of spring practice was actually in the number one group, in the top 3 at wide receiver over Ray Joseph at that slot position. So, that's great. You love seeing guys really just getting to the work. Somebody like a blue chip offensive lineman, Max Buchanan at guard, really doing some great things, as he's, just getting started there and things like that. And then also integrating all of the transfers, the multitude of transfers, especially on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary. Xavier Lucas, Zach Poyser, really looking to be the cream of the crop and at the top of the rotation in the defensive backfield. So that's really, really good to see because, the defense was so porous and atrocious last year. It has to get better. It has to. There is no, I'm not going to. Remember last year when I said I'm not living in a world where I'm even considering that Miami loses to Florida in the opener? I'm living in a world this year where I'm not considering that the defense doesn't take a big step forward. And from the atrocity that we saw last year, if you even go from terrible to just bad or maybe mediocre, is such a huge step forward. If we had a mediocre defense last year, we're probably in the, college football playoff quarterfinals at a minimum. You know what I mean? So, you got to see that step forward. And, I think that we have the players in position to be able to do that. Carson Beck changing his number and rocking Ken Dorsey's 11 as he transfers here to Miami. No pressure. I believe he's the first quarterback to wear 11, quarterback who's going to play. There's probably a walk-on or a lowly ranked recruit who wore 11, but the first quarterback who's of any consequence to to wear 11 since Ken Dorsey. My boy Matt Carter from Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Matt, was a punter and placeholder on the national championship team in 01. We were there the same 5 years at the University of Miami, and he came in and he was like the backup, and he was wearing number 20. And I just remember he made it a point the day after Ken Dorsey left, he was in the equipment manager's office. He said, 11. I want 11. And so my boy Matt wore 11 for the last little bit. So shout out to him for that. But yeah, you see, Ryan, you're right, Paulo. My boy Ryan Williams from Miramar, wore 11. But unfortunately, he tore his knee up in the spring and then wasn't able to play. And that's what greased the path to Brad Kaya starting as a true freshman. But you are a guy, that I've known ever since his junior year of high school and everything. You are correct. I stand corrected. I was wrong. It was Ryan Williams. But I guess I overlooked because of the injury that precluded him from playing. But yeah, so Carson Beck rocking 11 here, which is interesting to see. And he's still not throwing yet, but he's out there doing all of the drills and everything. And you remember that viral moment when Dak Prescott was warming up before a game and he was just doing his hip, transfers and twists and rotate. That's basically what Carson Beck is doing because he can't throw using his throwing arm. So he's going through all the reads, and you see him with the weight transfer. You can't see because I'm sitting, doing all the hip work and everything. So he's been doing that. So it's been good to see guys just out there getting after it. And yeah, we're going to be moving forward. This is what's up, Durrell Bellamy. Glad to see you in here as well. And yeah, so those are kind of some of my early thoughts and takeaways from what I've heard from people and also seen, reported elsewhere from people who go to the practices all the time. I just live so far away from campus, it's just whatever. I get down there when it's convenient, but I'm not going to get down there every single day. But yeah, Miami is on spring break starting, at the end of the day on Friday. So right now, as we're recording this on a Monday, so this week there is no practice because they're on spring break, and they'll be back next week. I think one day of acclimatization, and then you get full pads from Wednesday on for the final, but there's 15, so the final 11 practices, I want to say, and everything, because there's that transition period when you start practices. So yeah, that's where we are.
I don't know if Peyton Manning was the originator of those warm-ups or those exercises for the quarterback, or if he was just the first one that I recall, or just the first famous quarterback that put it on tape. But that's who I think of when I see that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny because the other quarterbacks are throwing and everything, and Carson has the ball in his hands and he's going through everything, but then just going to do that because he's still recovering from his elbow injury, surgery and recovery. So yeah, hopefully I'm not even going to expect to see him throw a ball during spring. If he does, then cool, but it's more important that he's healthy in August than March.
We are available, folks, on your favorite audio platform, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and there are a few others. Those are the major ones. So you can catch Hurricanes Live every edition on your favorite audio platform. So that's always an option depending on where you are. All right. The list of these type of players, I would think, would be shorter than it typically is for any school in the country because of the transfer portal. And that would be guys that had high expectations that have yet to meet those expectations. They could be having a crucial camp whatever angle you want to take.
Yeah.
Who's having a more important camp, crucial camp for them than others?
Wesley Basaint. He's a guy who's been mediocre to good, but we need him to be like the super duper star now at linebacker. Everybody coming back from injuries. So your Akeem Mesidors, I'm maybe on a limb with this one personally, but like a Ruben Bain, freshman All-American, and then didn't necessarily. I mean, I know that he had a hamstring injury and was 70% max for the rest of the year when he came back. but he's trimming down and trying to get back the explosiveness that had him as a freshman All-American. KC Kane fan in the chat, Ray Joseph. Yeah, this is definitely a make it or break it spring for Ray Joseph. I'm interested to see about Samson Okunlola, 5-star in the same class as Francis Mawinoa. Mawinoa is on track to be 3 years in the first-round draft pick, where Samson Okunlola has played fewer than 100 snaps, I want to say, in 2 years. I know he got injured as a true freshman, but when's that 5-star going to show up? You know what I mean? And I've talked, when Ben Congdon committed, I saw in the comments of either the video that I did, I think it might have been in the video, maybe it was on the website, stateoftheu.com, by the way. Please come on and fan with us. Where somebody was like, Ben Congdon reminds that commenter of Samson Okunlola of a big physical dude playing at a smaller school, and their abilities are being overstated because of that, just because of their sheer size in comparison to who they're competing against on a daily or weekly basis. There was talk about Okunlola needing to get physically stronger, especially in the upper body area when he came to Miami. I don't necessarily agree with all of the just derision about him, but this is definitely a year where I think he needs to start to show something. And if he can stay at tackle, because he is a tackle body, 6'5", or a little bit taller than 6'5", with long arms, great. If you got to move inside the guard, then you got to move inside the guard, whatever. But we need to start to see something from him. Guys who are also stepping up, Armando Blunt and Justin Scott. Justin Scott wearing a new number 5 at defensive tackle, by the way. Those guys look the part. And Casey Kane fan, another one that I was also going to mention, Josh Horton from Langston Hughes High School outside of Atlanta. He was teammates with Aaron Nolan. They won the school's initial state championship a couple of years ago as seniors and everything. Yeah, that's a guy who, like Ahmad Moten Sr., okay, cool. You're big, fast, strong at the point of attack. Maybe you do need to get, that grown man strength about you. But this spring really is integral towards that, because as a third-year player, same class as Samson Okunlola, right? Redshirt sophomore. We need to start to integrate you into the rotation and see things moving forward. So there are a couple of those guys, but I mean, I see it. CG in the chat, Casey Kane fan, pretty much everybody. The one at the top of the list is somebody who's really in the midst of the fire right now. Ray Joseph. This is your moment. I know that you have a lot of talent. Otherwise, you would not have been committed to Clemson early, or we would not have gone after you as a blue chip recruit. It was unfortunate for you in the chronology of your career that you were stuck behind the all-time most productive receiver in the history of this storied program, right? But Xavier Restrepo was moved on. Ain't nothing but air and opportunity, right? Nothing but that. So if you don't step up, and Malachi Tony does, it is what it is. But best player needs to play. But yeah, for Ray Joseph, yeah, that's gonna be the story of spring, really. Is he going to finally show at Miami what we saw from him at Miami Edison Senior High School, which was every time that he got the ball, you're holding your breath because he's gonna go and do something incredible. Ray Joseph was one of the most explosive high school players I've ever seen. And I've been doing this for a long time. Haven't seen that at Miami. This is that time.
I misrepresented something I saw that we posted here at the Voice of College Football, but originated at 247 Sports. So I was a bit taken back by this because I thought this was a listing of the top 10 defensive linemen in the country, not top 10 transfer defensive linemen in the country.
Yeah.
With David Blay there in the 10th spot. But that's still, considering the depth of impact, good players that are in each one of these positions over the course of an entire transfer cycle, that's still a pretty significant place and expectation for him.
Yeah, and David Blay, guy from Louisiana Tech who transfers in here, you expect him to be in that two deep. You expect him to step into the role of Simeon Barrow from last year. Now, hopefully, the guys you have here are developing, and that pushes him into the maybe second team, the second rotation at defensive tackle. But getting a grown man inside there with David Blay is, that you need that. Especially with all the guys that Miami lost on the inside going forward. So that helps to shore up the two deep rotation. I know that we do have Akeem Mesdor and we do have Ruben Bain, and we have all the young guys that we mentioned also who hopefully will step up. Ahmad Moten, he's in your top 4 defensive tackles. I don't care which way you slice it. You know what I mean? Armando Blunt, Justin Scott, maybe a Josh Horton, David Blay. There are plenty of options there, but getting elder statesman, a guy who's grown into, his abilities with the David Blay on the inside is really good to set the level.
Darrell, thank you for the contribution. Good to see you. Young boys get it done up front on the D line.
I'm hopeful. We got enough of them, and pretty much all blue chippers, or somebody like Ahmad Moten, who is a high 3-star with great potential to develop, that you have actually developed, because we've had other guys with that same kind of profile who have not been developed. So you see that and have him stepping up into a larger role. Yeah, this line should have been one of the best in America last year and had flashes of potential, but there are a lot of times when they were playing patty cake or playing these, the stunt games and twisting way too much, and they just were not winning up front. And that's questionable because there's so much talent. So you want to see that talent come to the forefront, young, old, whoever. You get the job done, you get the job done, but I definitely need to see there's a lot of talent with the young boys. I want to see them get it done. And anybody else. I didn't even mention Marquise Lightfoot coming back and trying to work his way into the two deep rotation, and everything. There's plenty of guys there who have the ability. We have to unlock that potential and turn it into performance, something you've heard me say about so many players here at Miami over the years.
Thank you, Darrell. We want to remind everyone that we are kicking it in on social media, and the latest would be our Instagram page. So this is fairly new here, folks, just in the last few weeks. Plenty of breaking news, ratings, rankings, top 10 lists, all that sort of good fun banter surrounding that sort of discussion during the off season. So take part there with us at the Voice of College Football on Instagram. Kenson's here saying hi.
Kinsonian Institute, man. Yeah, good to see you, man. I was randomly thinking about the music theory class that I taught that Kenson was part of when I worked at Miramar. He was in the band. He was a drum major and everything. So as a senior, like he and a bunch of others took AP music theory. I was randomly thinking about that class the other day.
I have no idea where Seffner, Florida is, but we see that Jalen Waters is a top 250 player, according to 247, top 150 player, according to the composite. So some other services like him even better at 6'1", 170.
Yeah, Seffner is just outside of the Tampa area. So on that side of the state, did a video breaking down him and his commitment. But yeah, there like some debate on his quick cut highlights. He listed himself as 6'2", 175. But he's tall, long. He's an elite player. He's, I think he's listed right now as like the number 15 cornerback in the country. I think he's closer to like the number 5 corner than he is like the number 15. So even if he was somewhere in the, 6, 7, 8, in the country, I think that he's more of that. Also, Ian Coleman, just going back, Jakari Brown wore 11 also. Duh. What can Brown do for you? So basically, this is a time where y'all caught me. I said something and was dead behind wrong about nobody wearing number 11 at quarterback since Ken Dorsey. My bad. Anyway, yeah, seatbelt is Jalen Waters' nickname because, they can't do the throat slash anymore. So they've taken to do that like, you're locked up and everything. But Yeah, this is a kid who has the build and size of a corner that a prototypical corner. You have at every position, especially on defense, you have guys who fit the stereotype physically. So you have fewer 5'9" corners and 5'10" defensive tackles and 6'2" offensive tackles. Like, you don't have those anymore. You got 6'6", 6'8" tackles. You got 6'4", 6'5" defensive tackles. You got 6'2" corners. You know what I mean? You're building those position groups to what you would consider a Nick Saban Alabama standard, a Georgia standard. Like, when you think of like a pro-sized college team, we're starting to look like that. And Jalen Waters is the next iteration of that. Mr. HD saying seatbelt will end up as a 5-star. Very, very possible. This is a kid, 6'2", with a positive wingspan. You can just see him standing there like he has long, long arms. Like, I'm 6 feet tall with a 6'5" or 6'4.5" wingspan. Like, I have that positive wingspan also. So like, looking at my own body, I can look at somebody else and be like, oh, cool. That's just how I'm built. You know what I mean? So you can see that. This is a kid who's great in coverage, plays a lot of man in high school, which went through probably half of his highlight tape, and he's lockdown. He's great at pattern matching. He has good ball skills, not perfect. He dropped an interception that was pretty much thrown right at him on one play and everything. So I get that you have those things. A longtime journalist friend of mine at South Florida Express tryouts one year when I was really starting to get into recruiting coverage and blogging and everything, and he was just starting out his career after he graduated from J school. He was like, cool. So as you look at certain drills, D1 players don't drop that ball. So if like the drill, like the DB start on the sideline, backpedal on an angle, come forward, backpedal on an angle, come forward, backpedal on an angle, and then on the last one they throw them the ball is just like a simple thing, and on the last part before they go to the sideline. I remember that one like it was yesterday. I remember Andrew Ivins was there. It was a couple other people, and we're all standing there, and they were like, cool. So these are the things you look at. I said, a D1 player doesn't drop that, and if he drops that, maybe, okay, cool. If he drops it twice during this warm-up, you can say that he's going to be a 3-star maximum. He's not really going to be a blue-chip player, right? And I don't want to say that Jalen Waters fits that, but him dropping that one ball, like, made me think of that because, like, that was a gimme. Like, you got to have that. But then you also look at all the other interceptions that he makes and all the great coverage that he had. You're like, okay, he has this, elite profile and, performance, so it goes with that. Jalen Waters, teammates with Kellen Wiley and Gerard Pringle at Sefner Armwood last year, a team that got to the regional final in FHSAA, I think the 3A playoffs, or I don't even know what the darn classifications are, but whatever. It's one of the bigger classifications. They got there and did that. He's the second corner in this class with Camden Portis, yes, son of Clinton Portis from Charlotte Myers Park High School. So you have two blue chips there. He's coming in right now as the second highest rated recruit in this class with potential to end up as a 5-star. So does Jordan Campbell, the linebacker from Carroll City. And it's a big recruiting win. I think that there is another player who this happened with, but at least recently, Jalen Waters is the first player to be committed to all three: Florida State, then Florida, then Miami, in that specific order. Miami was already trending in his recruitment before Will Harris left Gainesville to come to Coral Gables. But when that happened, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is definitely, set it in stone, set it and forget it. This is going to happen. And it finally did on Friday at the end of an unofficial visit day. So the last two commits last week both came on unofficial visits. Ben Congdon on Monday, Jalen Waters on a Friday. And so, we're up to 5 commitments in this class. There's definitely a momentum with plenty of other guys. They're getting tons and tons and tons of elite recruits on campus through the spring and going into official visit season. So it'll be very interesting to see how things continue. But yeah, as I said before, I think that Miami is doing the internal machinations of their recruiting processes have been updated slightly, and the early returns are positive on that, which is something that I needed to see because the end of the overall, the 2025 recruiting class left a little bit to be desired. Even with some of the top end players looking like top end players, there just could have been more of them, and we're starting out in that kind of pursuit for 26.
Cam's here. You're here. That's all that matters. We are ready to roll and have been for about 25 minutes. Hang with us here. And obviously, most of you have missed most of the show as you're gathering in right now, but you can go back at the end, watch what you missed, because in addition to a number of topics, Cam hit on Wesley Besaint, which kind of leads us into the continuation of what Paolo would like to hear. And that's any word on the linebacking core and any standouts.
Yeah, they're just going through everything. Haven't heard too much about the linebackers. I know Raul Aguirre switched his number to 10. He's been showing his elite physicality, on the field, which is something that, you saw last year. That's why he was the first guy off the bench, all year long. Jalen Alderman, I think, is kind of in your Corey Flagg, Trent Harris, not the most explosive athlete, but very consistent in, his performance, doing your job. And you need people sometimes, you just need guys to do their job. And that's what I loved about Trent Harris, because no matter what, when he was here, trusty Trent, you could set it and forget it, man. Like, if he had an assignment on a play, that's what he was going to do. And it saved Miami in so many different instances. I think, we've seen Adarius Hayes actually had getting some early returns, some good comments from the first and second day. Birdstone light body in there. Wesley's playing both linebacker positions, so Mike and Sam. And Chase Smith, is a guy, who's battled some injuries in his career. And boy, you talk about a wingspan. This is a guy with, he's 6'3" with like a 7-foot wingspan. He's like all arms. It's crazy. But he's trying to find a way to have a role on this defense. And as a fifth-year senior in a Miami legacy, I think that it's there for him. Excited to see what Cameron Bobby Pruitt and Bobby Washington are able to do also, because they're like super duper athletic guys. And, for years I've maligned the athleticism at the linebacker position for Miami. I think that we're in a much, much, much better place in terms of that athleticism. We just need to move it forward. And no, Kenson, we don't have a baby Greg Rousseau on the roster right now. But shout out to Greg Rousseau, the former high school wide receiver who just got an extension in Buffalo, 4 years, and I forget the number, but he made a bunch of money. Braxton Berrios just got paid, I saw earlier today, and things like that. Yeah, man, we'll Procane's still getting paid, and hopefully, we'll have even more going into those ranks in a little bit.
Jamaica Kane would like to see a rundown of how the offensive line currently looks. And that's what Jamaica Kane in regards to, the offensive line and the two deep in the secondary.
Offensive line, I think I feel very confident from left to right. Marco Bell at left tackle, Matthew McCoy at left guard, James Brockermeyer, the transfer from Alabama and then TCU, at center, Anez Cooper at right tackle, Francis Mawinoa at right guard, and then Francis Mawinoa at right tackle. The same starters for 3 years in a row since they started together as true freshmen. I mean, that's your best five. And I know that you're looking and saying, okay, well, who is let the best players play and everything. Unless somebody takes a meteoric rise this spring, I keep talking about my college football dynasty or whatever, right? I had at San Diego State, I had a 5-star athlete who was like a quarterback, projected. He was 6'1", 222 pounds, DeAndre Monday was his name. And came in at like an 82 overall, put him in running back. As a redshirt freshman, he was a 94 overall. I was just like, this kid's going to start for 2 years, be my first natural 99, not including a coach bump, and he's going to leave. Unless somebody takes that kind of a leap, I don't see how you can change the offensive line. Like, you got that 6'8" monster over there. You got Matthew McCoy, who is tackle sized at 6'6", 315, 320 with a positive wingspan. You got James Brockermeyer, who started 60 games or 50 something games in his college career, coming over at center because SJ Lopatuli, give him one mango season from Bishop Gorman, let him learn behind the veteran, and then he takes over in 26, starts for 3 or 4 years at center. But he's not there right now. Cool, you plug and play. And then the right side has started together ever since they stepped foot on campus. That's your 5. And that might be the best offensive line in the country. I think it's honestly between Miami and Notre Dame, who end up starting the season against each other. But like outside of those, I can't off the top of my head, and I was actually thinking about, I heard it on the Cover 3 podcast, and I was thinking about it. I don't think you can come up with a better offensive line than Miami, or unless it's Notre Dame, or Notre Dame unless it's Miami. Like those, I think, are far and away your 2 best offensive lines. So if you have that, you play those guys. Now, who are going to be number 6, 7, and 8, who might have to, come into the game, right? Who is your Jalen Rivers, who can play guard or tackle? Probably Matthew McCoy, maybe a Samson Okunlola. You know what I mean? Excuse me. And there's a couple other guys. SGO Lopatuli is in there. There's a couple other tackles, bouncing around trying to, wiggle their way into things. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I think that first 5 is really, really elite, arguably the best offensive line in the country. In terms of the 2 deep at defensive back, if you're going across 5 positions, being corner, slot, safety, I don't know, man. I really think that it's going to take longer because the whole room up in the secondary is basically turned over. I know Dylan Day has been showing himself really well early on in camp. Zach Poyser, like I'm saying, Damari Brown coming back from injury. All your transfers, your Ethan O'Connor, your Xavier Lucas looking like that guy at corner. Emmanuel Kernley, that's his name, from Arizona as well. You got, freshmen in there. You got guys coming back. There's so many guys who are trying to developing and earn that playing time. Is too early for that, but especially in the secondary, and especially because of how bad it was last year, best guys play. Do I have my favorites that I would like to see out there? Absolutely. Do I care at the end of the day? No.
When I hear the name Okunlola, or I may have missed an L in there, Okunlola?
There you
go. Okunlola.
Yep.
Wasn't he an extremely high recruit?
Yeah, like I said, we had 2 5-stars in that class, Francis Mawinoa and Samson Okunlola in that same class. One of them has been starting for 3 years. One of them has played, I think I maybe undersold it, maybe like 150 snaps in his career. Like, one of these things is not like the other. So, this is a time where, we really need to see that, especially because I think Markel Bell only had 2 years to play too. So, I'm pretty sure that he's leaving. And if he plays to the potential he flashed last year, a 6'8", 345-pound offensive tackle, he's going in the top 3 rounds of next year's NFL draft. Bang, Francis Mawinoa, bang. And I saw a picture of him going through the workouts, the offseason before, with the catapult tracking little strap vest or whatever. It took me a minute. I was like, who is that? And I saw somebody in the comments was like, oh no, that's Okunlola. It's like, or sorry, that's Mawinoa. And I said, yo, what? He looks like prime Penei Sewell. I mean, and I know that's been the comparison, but Mawinoa's been just a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier and everything, but and I'm like, I know he plays for my Detroit Lions, but arguably for the last couple of years, he's Penei Sewell's been the best lineman in the entire NFL, and you're starting to get Mawinoa looking like that as well. Hey man, so we need to see that he is a tank, and Pancake Honcho was Okunlola's nickname coming out of high school. I need to see some of that at this level.
And as soon as you were running down the offensive line, and then you went to who's going to fill out 6, 7, and 8, it led me to this thought. I would love, and maybe it's out there somewhere, but I think I would have come across it, someone to do an exhaustive look at injuries and how many injuries can be expected per team. Like, look at all the starting quarterbacks in college football, take out players being benched for poor play, and how many, what is the average number of starts that are either fulfilled or missed by a starting quarterback? Offensive line, because when you say 6, 7, and 8, I think, yeah, that was my follow-up question. Basically, the coaches in a realistic situation, how far off the bench or onto the bench do they want to be comfortable? And that sounds like that's the number 6, 7, 8 that you can reasonably want to feel comfortable about, like 3 guys coming off the bench because of injuries in meaningful games against big opponents.
Yeah, that is interesting. I actually, as you were talking about that, looked it up, and I'm going to put it in the chat. There is a study that I saw from 2022 about college football injuries overviews. So I was just perusing that. I'm going to leave that up and look. I threw in the chat for everybody. So that is, I don't know what the scope of that was. It was just one season or anything, but yeah, people are looking at that. But in general, I think the general consensus is you want to have a full 2 deep, obviously, but you really need to have 8. And I think, and it really is the same as a basketball team, because if you're going to the playoffs, like a championship basketball team, you need your starting 5, you need a shooter off the bench, you need a secondary offensive initiator, point guard, whomever, and like another big right off the, because you're probably, depending on what you're doing, 1 or 2 of those guys might cross train, but you really need 8. You're not going to play 10, 11, 12 in the playoffs. Like, the rotation gets short, 7, maybe 8, maybe 9 if there's foul trouble. That's really the same kind of a thing with an offensive line. You want your best 5 out there as much as possible, probably for injury, 1 or 2. You really want a second tackle, a swing tackle who can play either side, an interior lineman who can probably fill all 3, and then another guy who can, fit in there. So yeah, you really on the offensive line want to have 8. If you feel like fourth quarter against Notre Dame at home, you can play them and it's not the biggest liability in the world, right? That's where you want to be. If you have more than that, then yeah, you're skating on easy street.
All right, folks, consider. Go ahead.
No, sorry. There was another one. Jamaica Kane and somebody else also asked about this. Do you think we'll be able or need to react to the fact we did not get the legacy O lineman? Also hearing where we might miss out on the Pickett kid. Hope it's not true. Yeah, so Grant Wise, or Ty Wise. One's Grant, one's Ty.
I think it's Grant that went to Clemson.
So Ty Wise played at Miami. His father, Grant Wise, committed just recently to Clemson. I must have missed that or was doing something else. But he's a blue chip player who is a legacy. So that's why I saw those mocking tweets the other day. Okay, I get it. I saw some people like saying, basically, if you're a Miami legacy, come to Miami or, pretend you have a Jamaican accent. And then they played this, they included this video or whatever, and some other commentary. So that's okay. The circle of knowledge is complete. Do you want to get a blue chip lineman from the state of Florida that you're going after? Yes. Do you want a legacy player like the Wise kid? Absolutely. Is it the end of the world? Absolutely not, because we're going after so many guys, both near and far, along the offensive line. This is one of the focal point positions of this recruiting class in general, because, again, that class with Okunlola Mawinoa and Anez Cooper, probably the biggest success story from, a kid who was like 6'5", 370, 80 pounds playing tackle in Alabama, and local teams didn't even recruit him, comes down here, loses 40 or 50 pounds, slides to guard, and, could be a top 3-round draft pick now, has been starting for going on 3 years. That class are now upperclassmen. So you need to get that next wave, and Miami is really looking hard and strong to get that in this class. So, hey, you're going to take L's on the trail. Guys are going to go other places. We got to keep it moving, and that's why we're looking at so many different blue chip linemen in here. Cannon Pickett, DJ Pickett's cousin from Tampa. I think he goes to Berkeley Prep or one of those other schools out in Tampa. We'll see, man. I mean, he's probably a guy that we're looking at who plays tackle in high school to move inside to guard. If he wants to play tackle here, I mean, like, look, we're looking at Jackson Cantwell, the #1 player in America, and then we already have Ben Congdon, who's 6'7", 6'8". So, like, and I mean, also Jackson Cantwell is 6'7.5". So if you're looking, like, we're recruiting these, you know, monsters at tackle. If you're a 6'4" tackle with average arm length, kick inside, but boy, like, that is what it is. But if you want to play outside, I get where you're like, am I at the top of their list? And we, you know, Kenny Pepe from IMG Academy, another, you know, 6'6" dude with long arms that we're recruiting a tackle. There's a lot of dudes, man. So, you know, especially when you need 4 or 5 in a class, you're going to recruit 18, 20 dudes and just let it fall where it may. So I'm not really broken up about it. But hopefully we get the guys that we need. And I think that, you know, the staff is doing a good job prioritizing who they want and need. And especially along the offensive line, like, they have my implicit trust. You know what I mean? You get Markel Bell, you get, Jalen Rivers was the previous staff. Matthew McCoy developed, S.J. Olobatuli, top 3 inside offensive line prospect last class. Samson Okunlola was a 5-star. Francis Mawinoa was a 5-star. I've already waxed poetic about Anes Cooper. What are we talking about, guys? Like, this is not a thing where, like, oh, I have a question about their evaluation of offensive line. Now, I've been very vocal about my questions about, you know, evaluations and takes in some other positions. Offensive line with Mirabal and Cristobal, please.
Please like, if you have not already. Always like these videos. Take a second right now to do that, please. And also make sure that you are subscribed here at the Voice of College Football. Also consider, folks, that you can get your business, your products, your service. And don't forget, in this day and age, your personal brand to the next level by partnering with the Voice of College Football. As you can see right here, Win Agency. They have been partnering with us on the Michigan channel since last fall and continued their partnership with us through the off season. They were so pleased. So let's discuss how you can reach your target audience. Contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com. I will leave that link in the chat. Sponsorships@vocfb.com.
Huh? Sorry, not to what you just said. 904 Hurricane. Interesting question here. And I just took a quick perusal as Mark was doing that ad read there. How many stars did we have a few years back when we had to play a walk-on at running back? When was that? Because I just looked back on the CFB stats page up until 2016. We haven't played a walk-on at running back. Like, not reasonable or impactful snaps. Is it before that? Like, hold on, 2015 Miami Hurricanes stats. And if I go to Sports Reference, even that year, where's rushing? That's
going back to Mark Walton and
yeah,
Johnson.
but even right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, then you had those dudes. Like, I don't know, man. We have a really good running back room still. Am I concerned about RB depth? Yes, I think that we need another one. Does Chris Wheatley-Humphrey stay or transfer? I would hope that he stays because we only have 4 guys right now. And we had 5 starters last year, and like Wheatley-Humphrey was redshirting, so like we had 6 or 7 in the room. Right now, yeah, we don't have that. I think that of them, Chris Wheatley-Humphrey is at the bottom of the list. You know, Mark Pope, Jordan Lyle, I almost said Scarlett, Jesus. Jordan Lyle changed his number to number 2. People are saying he looks like Willis McGahee in college out there wearing that number physically. Like, hello. You know, Gerard Pringle, who multiple players have said he reminds them of Jahmyr Gibbs. hello. A guy who averaged like 13 yards a carry in high school. I wanted Miami to recruit, stayed home, went to Georgia Tech, then went to Alabama, is now starting for again. My Detroit Lions. Hey, they said it. I didn't bring it up. It just so happens there's a connection. And then Chris Wheatley-Humphrey there, but Chris Wheatley-Humphrey was a guy who ran like sub 11 in the 100 in high school. So yeah, man, there's a lot of talent in this room. Shannon Dawson said the running back room is arguably one of the most talented room on the offensive side of the ball right now. Yeah, that speaks to that. So, but am I concerned about depth from a numbers standpoint? Yes. I would love to have another body. I would love to have another guy there that we can add to the group, just because for a full season seems a little thin to me.
When we kick in here for about 10 or 15 minutes and we're riding with about 20, but now we're at 116, you know what that tells me? I know that we're on an odd time. So thanks for playing with us this week. But still, if you subscribe and hit the bell with the notification, because this show was scheduled a day ago, so you had a full close to 24 hours to prepare. So the notifications went out on Sunday. That just make sure you got that in order. Subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. That way you don't have to be surprised with it on your feed halfway through the show. There you go.
Juan Manuel, concerned with the lack of experience and health of the wide receiver room. Hopefully Miami gets 2 spring portal receivers. Your view? I think that Miami needs 1 portal receiver on another one because CJ Daniels is not playing. But yeah, there is a lack of experience at receiver right now. But the top 6, 5 of them are redshirt freshmen or true freshmen, and then you have Ray Joseph being the outlier to that, and then you have CJ Daniels, the outlier to all of them because he's been in college for a long time. I would say I would like 1. 2, I think you're blocking your young guys too much. Like, we've invested all these resources in bringing in these guys, a JoJo Trader, a Ray Joseph that I talked about earlier, one of the first few players to flip away from Clemson in the last 15 years. I think there's only been like literally 5, maybe fewer than that. So you go and do that. That obviously costs you money. It costs you resources and everything to get that elite kind of talent on your roster. You need to give them space to be able to perform. And like I said before, I know that he was being blocked by Xavier Restrepo, but now is that time. So I think 1 spring portal receiver would be great. 2, my thing with 2 spring portal wide receivers, unless you're getting someone of Jeremiah Smith ilk, Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams, like a sure star, put them out there. I'm not even looking over at the X receiver, right? Unless you're going to get somebody of that kind of caliber, I don't see the value in bringing in 2 because you're blocking and inhibiting the guys that you've recruited to come play from playing and developing. But 1, I think, similar to running back, helps the depth concerns that are there presently at that position.
Could it be the running back that Miami picked up from UAB is what is being said here by Sean. I don't know who that is.
Oh my goodness. It was
somebody threw out 2019.
2019. Yeah, he was there. Like, he was a scholarship player, but he came here and like he didn't have a scholarship for some odd reason at first.
Oh man, I forgot the name Cam Harris. Jimmy Murphy. Jimmy Murphy? He only had 5 carries. Somebody threw out the name Jimmy Murphy.
Oh, he was Rudy. He wasn't like they put him out there on specials and everything, and cool, he wanted to be at Miami and but yeah, that was infuriating. honestly. Like the fact that he played meaningful snaps was some bullshit. Let's be real. Like he should, no.
He only had 5 carries.
Yeah, but he took more snaps than that is the thing. And like he was Rudy, man. Like, no. Whatever.
He scored a touchdown. Let's see what game that was.
It was like the Bethune-Cookman, Central Connecticut State.
You would
whatever,
think.
Game. Yeah, that was
Bethune-Cookman.
Told you.
That was his big day. 4 carries, 17 yards. And the rest of his career, he had 1 carry against a big opponent, 1 yard against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, those shenanigans. Shenanigans. Jaden Harris is not on our team. How tired of seeing him get cooked were you? Says Ibrahim. Very, very tired. And as somebody who was a big proponent of his coming out of high school from an athletic profile, I really thought that he would, if you're listing him as an athlete, corner, defensive back kind of a thing, and you look at the tape, and I sent it to a few people, even, who work in recruiting and whatnot, they're like, oh, who's this 4-star? And he was like listed as a 3-star. Athletically, yeah. Skill-wise, nah. It was getting bad. I mean, it was getting first 3 years Robert Knowles, Nantambo Akil Fentress, Casey Rogers. Like it was he was getting up to AJ Highsmith. Like his name was mud. Like especially he just bad angles, missed tackles, just not diagnosing things. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're this incredible athlete. If you can't see it, you don't know it, and you're in the wrong place. You know what I mean? Like, you're always looking at the back of somebody else's jersey, and you're playing safety, where you need to be the last line of defense. What are we talking? No, it wasn't good. Wasn't good. He had to go.
So all that said, you would think that a guy like that, his transfer would go to Group of 5 or a low-level ACC, a Virginia, somebody like that, or a Big 12 low-level school, Houston, Cincinnati, not Georgia.
I mean, he's from Georgia. Maybe there's a connection there. I would be shocked, flabbergasted, if he plays meaningful snaps at Georgia. I would be that would be the turnaround of the century. I just don't. And maybe they only ask him to do, 2 things, and he does those 2 things really, really well. But, like, I don't – have you seen how they recruit Georgia? That one was – maybe he just wanted to be close to home, manage sports, major in sports management and go pro in something other than sports. But playing sports. I don't know, man. Yeah, that one like Lawrence Cager and Colby Young, when they transferred from Miami to Georgia, it's like, oh, they need a 6'5" jump ball wide receiver, big physical. Like, they fit the profile and the performance where, okay, if you're using them in this way, I can see how it fits. Jaden Harris on that defense? I don't see it.
I hear you. That's why I was surprised when I just looked it up. I didn't remember where he went.
Let me run through these comments real quick. Wide receiver out of Jacksonville Bowls. Don't remember who that is. I'll have to look at it. 904 Hurricane, but he's from up your way. He's one of the multitude that we're looking at. I've seen the name. I forget. I've been watching so many different wide receivers right now. I don't remember his name. Blake Verner, Cam, do you think we should get a QB coach? I mean, we have a QB coach in Shannon Dawson, and we have plenty of offensive assistants who are helping with that position. Do we need a separate QB coach? I don't necessarily think so, but if Miami wants to hire another analyst, assistant, positional assistant for it, I'd be fine with it. I think that we have needed to recruit the position a lot better. And by getting Luke Nickel on campus and then Darion Coleman in this next class, I think that we're finally doing that. But I think that's been the bigger issue than the coaching of the position presently. Jamaica Kane, before I leave, comments on Miami men's basketball coaching hire. Cool. I'll just do that now. Jay Lucas, coming over from Duke. He's their defensive coordinator and recruiting ace. He was a McDonald's All-American in high school himself. He played at Texas and I forget wherever else, but Kentucky, I want to say. So he himself played at a very high level. Son of John Lucas, the former NBA player and NBA coach. John Lucas III, is his brother and everything. And this is a guy who is among the best recruiters in America, Shaden Sharp. So he's coached at Kentucky, Texas, and Duke. He's the first Duke basketball assistant in 30 years who did not play basketball at Duke. So they stay very insular to their. So if you look at the bench, you look at Chris Carroll, you look at John Shire, you look at all these dudes on the bench. It's like, cool, they played there, they did some other stuff, and they come back. He's the first one in 30 years who did not play at Duke, who got a job at Duke as the associate head coach, right? Like, if that does, and again, he's coached at Kentucky, Blue Blood, Texas, major program, not necessarily a blue blood in the way of Kentucky, but still elite level program. Miami's seen them in the NCAA tournament, all things like that, and then Duke. The pedigree is there. I know that he's younger. I know that he has not been a head coach before, but when you're you're the lead recruiter on Cooper Flagg, you're the lead recruiter on the Boozer twins, Carlos Boozer's sons from Miami, Columbus High School. Like I said, Shaden Sharp, who had one of the dunks of the year last week for the Portland Trail Blazers, also recruited him to Kentucky. His brother runs an AAU program, which, you can recruit from. There's another program that he played for himself and coached, so the recruiting is going to be there. He coordinates the defense for the national championship favorites in Duke, a defense that is locked down, by the way. This is the time to do that. I think if you waited 3 years to bring somebody in, it doesn't work out, you fire them, you say, okay, we want to circle back on Jay Lucas. I don't think that the opportunity would be there to get him because I think he's on to bigger and better things. You try to get in on the ground floor, bring in a guy who's revered around the game of basketball. They were NBA stars near and wide who hopped on socials to congratulate him. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Tristan Thompson, and many, many, many others. Yo, hey, bro, good to see you. Yeah, you're down in Miami. You need anything, hit me up. It was like 15 or 20 of them, like all reached out in a video retweeted by Canes Basketball. Like, you're getting a rising star in the sport on the ground floor. This is like getting a Jimmy Johnson before he becomes Jimmy Johnson. You know what I mean? Potentially. That's how he's looked at in the world of basketball, coaching, and recruiting. I love the hire. I love the energy. We're stepping into a new era. He's younger than half the age of Jim Larinaga. Like, you're turning the page in a really dramatic, drastic way. And I think for Miami basketball, that is what is needed. So I really applaud them for being bold and taking that step to partner with Jay Lucas. I think that he'll be here for a while. And then I think he's going to, like Miami football used to be, like 5 years of national championship and then on to bigger and better things. Not saying that the basketball team is going to be a national championship team in 5 years, but I think like 4 to 5 years, returning Miami to a prominence in the ACC that we've, lost obviously last year and this year, and then some super major team is going to go hire him. So I thought that was really a good job and a great get. Juan Manuel, Luka Gilbert, the tight end, has been surprised. 6'7", 250 is more athletic than most thought. Brock Schott and Luke look a promising duo at tight end. Yeah, I'm higher on, or as a recruit coming out, I was higher on Brock Schott than Luka Gilbert, but Luka Gilbert has just been making play after play after play after play, through the first week of spring practice. And I mean, he is a measure larger. I mean, Brock Schott 6'4", 240 versus like 6'7", 255. There's a demonstrable difference there. So, and that's not even bringing into fact of Elijah Lofton, who Swiss Army knife, running back, tight end, fullback, slot receiver, outside receiver, wherever you can play him as an offensive weapon. But yeah, you look at Brock Schott and Luka Gilbert definitely doing well for themselves through the first week of spring practice. Is there anything else?
We've got a super chat here from our
Let's
buddy Ibrahim.
Not sure it was asked, how are you feeling about the DC hire? And we'll be able to not let Duke score 35. Feeling great about the defensive coordinator hire in Corey Heatherman. Early returns are great. He's teaching, developing, simplifying things. And I think you saw some of the cerebral nature of players last year, which when you're thinking too much, you're playing slow. And that got Miami in so many different things. Bad positions defensively in 2015. And you have guys like, Justin Scott said, the terminology is much easier to understand, digest, and then it just lets us go play free. So early returns, good. Let's see what happens on the recruiting trail and development, especially at linebacker, since he is coaching linebackers, which is a position that he has coached multiple times in multiple places, Rutgers, Minnesota, and then previously at James Madison, excuse me. Very excited about it. And then there were a couple fluky plays in Duke scoring 35, but we also scored like 60 in that game last year. But we kind of had to. Hopefully able to lock that down more than we saw.
Please like and subscribe, everyone. And again, a number of people commenting in the chat that they're just catching up late in the show. All you have to do is hit the rewind, go right back to the start. You don't necessarily need to miss anything. So don't do that. And we should be back next Wednesday. We shall see how things shake out. That's, again, a reason why you subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live.
Absolutely. I'm going to run through these last few and get out of here. Kenson saw a clip of wide receiver drills, noticeable difference in explosiveness with 12 and 5, that being Malachi Toney versus Ray Joseph. Should we be a bit concerned? Not concerned, but just make that note. We're a long way away from the season, and we'll see what will happen. But just a thing like, we'll just note that. Saw it. Okay, cool. What was the kicker's name with the funny laugh? It was during the Bubba Baxa era. Don't remember. My point is Miami better pick up a reliable running back option, says 904 Hurricane. Yeah, again, I think that a fifth running back in the room. I would like to see one wide receiver, one running back, and then probably a linebacker. I would like to see those in the spring portal if available. T-Rob recruited Jaden Harris, and he's Georgia's DC. That's your connection. So kind of the homeboy hookup Hall of Fame. But T-Rob also wants that job as Georgia's defensive coordinator. I don't see him putting Jaden Harris out there too very much. But, hey, we will see. We did bring in a running back, a walk-on transfer from Florida State, put him in the back in the portal. He committed to FAMU. That might be who they're talking about. Cool. There is that. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Is this Miami's most talented defensive line since 2003? Potentially. We've had very talented defensive lines. The Gerald Willis, the third year. That was a very talented line.
Russo and Phillips together?
They never played together, though. Russo played the year before, and then Phillips transferred in, and Russo's mom was a nurse during the COVID season, so he sat out that season and got drafted. They were on the roster together, but they never played because Russo had 15, sat out, and then Phillips wore 15 that year. So, they were there. So there's been a lot of talent, and you're great to bring that up as one because they were technically there at the same time. Miami has usually never lacked for talent. We just need these guys to live up to their talent and perform really well. What do I think Hellcat's 40 time is? That's Chris Wheatley Humphrey. 4.4 flat, 4.38 maybe. Which is super duper fast, by the way. There are not many people who are running, sub 4.4 actual. It was Isaiah Bond, who I was thinking of, who talked all that noise about breaking the 40-yard dash record and then ran 4.4 flat. Like, yeah, nah. Like, even he was like, oh, yeah, I'm running 4.15. Da, da, da. You were a quarter second off of that, which 4.4 is way faster than I can run. Like, I'm not saying that you're slow in comparison to me, but when you say I'm the fastest, I'm going to have the fastest time ever, and then you run like a fairly pedestrian. I think technically he got to 4.39, so you can say, "Oh, I ran 4.3." You ain't run no 4.3. You ran 4.39, but you were like 1/1000th or 1/100th off of 4.4. Shut it up. Lucius Stanley, the walk-on, he was a scholarship player at UAB. So he walked on, but like he was a scholarship player from somewhere else. Like that's different than Jimmy Murphy, but whatever. When will you guys be doing this Q&A show again? I don't know. I might do one on Wednesday night. I might take it off, or next week. Who knows? So be sure that you're like and subscribe to the channel so you see that. And last one, did they ever find Beck's Lamborghini? I don't think so. Yeah, wait. There was an arrest in that case a couple days afterwards. There was they found the alleged perpetrator. I don't know what the adjudication was, but yeah, so that had happened from that. So I will leave that there for all of you guys. Appreciate y'all, coming out on a Monday afternoon and hanging out with us. As always, stateoftheu.com. As you see it right there in front of you, please come on over and fan with us. We have a lot of great stuff there here on the Miami channel on the Voice of College Football, doing even more content. Did a breakdown of Ben Congdon after he committed. Did a breakdown of Jalen Waters, where we walk through some film and everything. So please make sure you check that out. And on the Magic Twitter machine, if and when it ever comes back at Underwood Sports, is where you can see my thoughts on a bunch of different things. And that's that. So enjoy your spring break, I guess. Unless there's anything else from you, Mark.
I am taking calls at 4 p.m. Eastern time on the main channel, and Cam and I will be back next week. And again, subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. Cam may jump on here at any time. So we will see you soon.